brains.
All rise, huh?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone. Any visitors?
All of us?
Yeah, all of you. Crowd of you. Any comments from the visitors?
Well, that's a quiet bunch.
All right, I have a lot of announcements here. The next meeting of the board is April 16, 2013. There's space still available for the Cherry Blossom trip to Washington, D.C. on April 6. It's $55 per person. Just contact the administration office for more details. Local Government Week is April 15th through the 19th. Ryan and I will be going to 2 elementary schools, and we're working through Local Government Week education with Doylestown Borough. And the Great American Cleanup at Pennsylvania, sponsored by the Bike and Hike Committee, starts on April 20th at 10 a.m. to noon, and they're cleaning up the Route 202 Parkway Trail from Bristol Road to the Walter Berry Trailhead. Contact doylestownpa.org for volunteers. April 4th, CB South is, and Central Bucks Educational Foundation are hosting the Jim Matthews lecture to students and parents on underage drinking. That's Thursday, April 4th, CB South at 7 p.m. That's an important lecture. He's a very dynamic speaker. He's well known on presenter on underage drinking for middle and high school students. So April 4th, 7 p.m., CB South. The Arbor tree planting is April 20th, 8 a.m. to noon at the New Britain Road entrance at Central Park. The Doylestown Township Golf Outing benefiting the park system is scheduled for and will be held on Monday, June 3rd, 2013, Doylestown Country Club. Kids Castle, reminder, is closed for repairs, and tomorrow the Kids Castle Committee has invited all the members of the board to Demolition Day. That's tomorrow, beginning at 7 a.m., and if you get there by 8, you might have an interview with Intelligencer. They were invited. So anyway, so there's a whole lot going on at Kids Castle tomorrow morning. Demolition Day tomorrow. Not you, okay.
Sounds exciting.
Kind of early, yeah, especially if you're working tonight. Next item on the agenda, approval of the minutes for March 19th.
Move for approval.
Is there a second, please?
A second.
Any questions, concerns, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Correspondence from the Neshaminy Green Trail, request for letter of support for Chalfont Borough.
Yes. As everyone knows, we've been working on the Neshaminy Greenway. We've completed phases 1 and 2. Phase 3 is now being picked up. It will start at Upper State Road and head to Blue Jay Park, which is in Chalfont, and Chalfont is taking the lead on this application to DVRPC for the last part of the grants that they've distributed. It would be the recommendation of the committee for the township to submit a letter of support.
Is there a motion to approve the letter of support from Joel?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
It's 5-0.
4-0.
4-0, sorry, beg your pardon. I'd like to, announce that Sean Toohill's son is ill and in the hospital, so let's all keep him in our prayers and his family in our prayers and wish him well, wish them all well. Email from M. Schaefer to S. Mason.
That's just the backup information on the correspondence showing the trail for that.
All right, and you got a correspondence, and we have on our table a letter from Harold Johns indicating a member of our open space board who is moved out of the area and has to resign. So they're, with his removal or movement out of the township, we will, miss him. He was a vital part of our open space board. So
I'll make a motion. We accept that with regrets.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
And send him a thank you note. And with that absence on that, I ask that the board consider appointing Allison Hamilton, who has been the Park and Rec liaison member to the open space, as the regular member to the open space board. I put that in the form of a motion. May I ask?
I'll second that.
Okay, any questions about Allison?
No, Allison's been an excellent volunteer all these years, and I think it's a good step for her.
All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Allison Hamilton is now an official member. That leaves an opening from the Park and Rec Board representative to the Open Space Board. Could you send Mr. Bray a memo? Thank you. Reports from the solicitor.
Nothing we won't discuss later in the agenda, Madam Chairperson.
Township engineer?
Nothing at this time.
Chief?
Nothing to report.
Township manager?
Nothing at this time.
Oh, boy. Supervisors, Tom?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Rick?
The Planning Commission moved along the sewer project. And as you all remember, there's many steps in the process. So they reviewed the plans that we received, and at their meeting found no issues and moving that along. So that's a big step. And the other thing I just wanted to mention, we always forget to thank people, but for the last 6 years, Arbor Day has been the same day as A Day, and it's obviously hard to get people and do everything. So Sandra and the EAC did an excellent job finally getting approval from the state to officially allow us to do Arbor Day a week earlier than Arbor Day. So we're going to...
E-Day.
A-Day, yes. And already Sandra was telling me that now they've got plenty of volunteers and all
Yeah,
stuff
we have a
working.
group from Uniemi.
Yeah.
I think that have
30.
volunteered looking for a project, a service project, and put them to work. Excellent. Anything else, Rich?
No, that's it.
Thank you. The other thing, oh, sorry, Ryan, do you have anything?
Just one quick thing. I just want to thank the Ways and Means Committee. I had my first meeting with them, and it was very informative, and I'm really happy to be liaison to the committee, and I will say I learned a lot. So I'm happy to be there and be a part of it, as Lee rolls his eyes.
I continue to learn a lot, too.
As you may recall, I was appointed to the State Advisory Committee on Violence Prevention. It's we had our first meeting in March 21st in Harrisburg, and our next meeting is April 24th in Harrisburg. And I came away from that meeting with 25 of us from across the Commonwealth. And everyone's taking a very pragmatic approach. They want very simple suggestions, as they say, the low-hanging apple suggestions that you can on how we can find and implement ways of violence protection in our communities and our schools. I came away believing that I'm one person, but I live in a community where a lot of people have ideas. Would have ideas on ideas for violence prevention, and so I suggest and ask that the board consider hosting a town hall meeting the week of Local Government Week, where we can solicit opinions and suggestions from other members in our community that I can take back to Harrisburg on April 24th. So I'd like to make that proposal. You guys are all consensus for that? Mm-hmm. And we looked at the calendar, and perhaps the 17th in the afternoon, 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock to 5 o'clock, something along those lines. Mm-hmm. And we're going to send notice of this, since we want everyone to participate who can possibly participate, to the mental health facilities, to the county commissioners, to the school district, to the hospital, and to all the regular people in the community. People have ideas. Sometimes they're very simple. Women's Place, Nova. And the idea of the advisory committee in Harrisburg was not to reinvent the wheel, not to throw a lot of money on it, but come up with practical suggestions and solutions that we can easily implement, or at least make recommendations for easy implementation.
I would say the area on aging, too, as well as the children and youth would be a good group to involve, because you have older and you have younger that still suffer from violence.
Yep. Thank you. That's a great suggestion. Got all that? Mm-hmm. Thank you. All right. I appreciate that, and we'll do that in Local Government Week, because that is part of what we do. And I'm going to ask, I have a meeting with the CB Cares Educational Foundation this Thursday morning, and I'm going to ask them to help with this endeavor as well. Okay? Thank you. Okay. New business. approval of the relinquishment of easement, acceptance of the blanket easement on the Hess property. This is confusing to me.
This is a part of a subdivision that goes back 10, 15 years now?
Mid-'90s.
Mid-'90s. And the approved plan shows an easement in favor of the township for stormwater purposes. It has no present use and no anticipated use. The property owners, Mr. and Mrs. Hess, wanted to put a modest addition on the house, but couldn't because this easement was there. So what's before you tonight is the relinquishment of that easement, but they are granting us a blanket easement over the entire property of theirs in case we have a need in the future for any stormwater work. So what this facilitates is them being able to put their addition on unimpeded by the easement we don't need, but granting to the township a perpetual blanket easement over their entire property. So if there is a problem in the future, we have the ability to correct it.
Okay.
I'll move for approval.
I'll second.
Any questions? You laid that out very nicely. Thank you very much. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. All right. Appointment of members to the Friends of Kids Castle Committee. There's a memo in our file where Tyler Tomlinson and John Biederman would be appointed to a 3-year term, Rosemary Huther and Joe Salvati to a 2-year term, and Lauren Sheehan to a 1-year term. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is that now becoming a formal committee?
It has been from before, but it's also, I guess recently we adopted a resolution about a month ago to make it an official committee of the township.
I think it spells out that the members, all but one, has to come from the township and one can come from the borough. Am I correct?
No, actually, the resolution allows any resident in the area.
In the area.
In the
Yeah, the
area.
dog
Oh, I
park
thought
has
it
to change.
showed it.
Not
That's
this-
the
Showed it had
dog
to
park
come
one, yeah.
from the township.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Somebody will send them notice of
Yes.
their appointment. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Okay, proposed amendment to the drug and alcohol policy. Very fluent memo in our file about the policy change. Perhaps I did. Would you like to tell me which one it was?
Kids Castle Consultant Agreement.
I beg your pardon. Kids Castle Consultant Agreement. Yes, absolutely. I did pass over that by accident. This, I'm not quite sure if this consultant agreement follows the correct track, so I'm going to ask that the agreement be tabled, and the committee hasn't yet met.
Made a recommendation.
Hasn't met a and so procedurally it's inappropriate before us at this time.
I would agree
I
with that.
withdraw my motion then. No, go ahead.
April Fools.
Okay.
I would agree with tabling, and liaison being Sean, and Sean not being here, he could elucidate some of the questions we have, but I support tabling this at this point.
All right. Matters tabled. Cynthia, what was that one motion for?
That was for the appointment of the
Appointments,
members.
that's already been done.
Okay, that's been
That's
done.
when-
All right, so
and
we have
you're
no
on- yes.
outstanding
You're
motion.
back on D.
pending.
Okay, back to D. Okay, I'm moving along now. Thank you. Okay, the proposed amendment to the drug and alcohol policy, everyone's had a chance to review it.
It's a very in-depth policy. I have to thank the members of our safety committee that's been working very hard to update this, and also Jeff for his time in reviewing it. Our policy has been somewhat outdated, and this definitely is very comprehensive and addresses, I think, what we need to have in place at this point in time. And the committee and myself would recommend this to the board for adoption.
Is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve this amendment. Very well done, very thorough, and you could tell a lot of work was put
Quite
into
in
it.
depth, yes.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any questions? Anybody? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the easement, Chalfont New Britain Township Joint Sewer Authority with the Chamonix Greenway.
Well, Jeff and I can both address this, but as part of the Chalfont New Britain Land Development Plan years ago, they showed an easement for bike trail on their property. As we've developed the Chamonix Greenway Trail, we've worked very closely with them to identify the exact easement. This agreement, which Jeff has worked on with their attorney, has been signed and approved by them and has been recommended by the Bike Hike Committee. And Tom Kelso has volunteered a lot of his time in helping put together the, I guess, the details behind it in terms of the site of where it's going and the meets and bounds. So we would recommend that. Did I miss anything, Jeff?
No, I mean, obviously, it grants, there are some restrictions as far as, making sure it's available for emergency vehicles and things like that, but it's very appropriate for the purposes intended, and you'll recall that the board waived some permit fees for Shop on New Britain that were not a lot of money, in exchange for which they agreed to give you this easement for nothing. So, makes sense.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
I second it. I think it's an excellent piece to add, especially with the Bike and Hike Committee, and I'm glad that you mentioned, all due respect to Mr. Garten and all, but Tom Kelso did put in a lot of work and a lot of his efforts into it, so I'd like to recognize Tom also.
Absolutely. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Last item, well, not last item, zoning hearing board, Hauser 116 Park Drive, special exception. What do you recommend the zoning officer?
I would recommend we leave this matter to the zoning hearing board. It's a special exception for an in-law suite, and they handle those all the time.
So be it.
I agree.
Okay. Bills list for April 2nd, 2013.
Move for approval.
Motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, not on the agenda, but I would like the board to consider, with the manager's recommendation, that we look at our schedule for the year and perhaps reduce these meetings to once a month instead of twice a month. And I know we're going to summer months soon, where we only have one meeting a month anyway, but our meetings are under a half hour most of the time, and I don't see that I think we can probably consolidate a lot of business into one meeting and save some staff time and resources in that regard. So can we look at that, Ms. Manager?
Absolutely.
Okay. And then maybe you'll make a recommendation for what's happening in May, at our next meeting on April 16th,
Yes.
which is, now we're back into the announcements. Our next meeting is on April 16th. There's still space available for the Cherry Blossom trip to Washington, D.C. on April 6th. Costs $55 per person. Contact the administrative offices. Local Government Week is April 15th through the 19th. Ryan Mannion and I will be visiting Bridge Valley and Kutz Elementary. And on April 17th, 3 to 5 p.m. here, we're going to host a town meeting on the April 17th, on the suggestions that I can take back to the Joint State Governments Commission Advisory Committee on Violence Prevention. We want practical suggestions. The Great American Cleanup of Pennsylvania, sponsored by the Bike and Hike Committee, is April 20th from 10 a.m. to noon. We're going to begin on Route 202, the Parkway Trail from Bristol Road to the Walter Berry Trailhead. Contact us at doylestownpa.org for your volunteer assignment. Arbor Day tree planting is April 20th at 8 a.m. to noon at the New Britain Road. Do a lot of stuff all at that one place. New Britain Road entrance to Central Park. Kids Castle is closed for repairs, and tomorrow morning there is a special, what's it called, demolition day, beginning at 7 a.m. And April 4th, Central Bucks CB Cares Educational Foundation is sponsoring Jim Matthews, the dynamic speaker on underage drinking, CB South, at 7 p.m. That's April 4th. Did I get everything? I think you did. Okay. We had more announcements than we had agenda items. Seeing no other businesses, we'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay. All in favor? All right, we're gone. Thank you very much, everybody.